During Tuesday night's debate, President Trump shocked many people by not clearly disavowing himself with white supremacist groups. He has since done so. But the president previously shocked Virginians with comments about what happened in Charlottesville. So we start with you, Dr. Gade. Do you believe there were good people on both sides of the riots in Charlottesville? 60 seconds.
Leaders have a responsibility to speak clearly. So allow me to speak clearly. I disavow racism. I disavow white supremacists. And if you're out there, if you happen to be a white supremacist and you're watching this right now, I don't want your vote. I don't want your money, and shame on you for your attitudes and your disrespect. Now, the president badly fumbled that question last week on Tuesday. He badly fumbled it. There's no way around that. And he badly fumbled it in the Charlottesville case as well. And what I would have said in the Charlottesville case is exactly what I just said. I disavow racism. I disavow white supremacy, and it has no place in our society. Now, what is very interesting to me is that when we have a chance to speak publicly about this, we must speak clearly. And in this case, I have chosen to do that. I'm absolutely going to tell you the truth about where I stand on this issue.
Dr. Gade, thank you. Senator Warner, 60 seconds, same question.
President Trump was wrong when he said there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. And Heather Heyer died because of white supremacist violent actions. President Trump was wrong this past Tuesday night when he refused in front of not only America, but the whole world to call out white supremacists and militia groups. I hope and would ask my distinguished opponent, Mr. Gade, to acknowledge that Mr. Trump was wrong in calling out for that inappropriate comment.
Dr. Gade, would you like to respond? 30 seconds.
Well, I literally just said that, Senator. But as governor in 2002, when you were in charge of who you appoint to the bench in Virginia, you appointed a known segregationist named Cavados to the 13th district. And here's the thing about that. He said that black people are parasites, and he said they would suck billions of dollars out of our economy, and yet you appointed him anyway. So don't preach to me about what I need to say. You need to talk about your own actions, and I'll happily yield back the rest of my time for Senator Warner.
30 seconds, Senator Warner.
I'm proud of our administration's record. We were the most diverse administration at that point in Virginia history. I'm proud of the fact that the namesake of this hall, Doug Wilder, has endorsed my campaign. Matter of fact, I was campaign manager for his campaign. Proud of the fact that one of the first bills I signed as governor was to make sure that we put racial profiling training with our state troopers. Proud of the fact that we made record investments in minority businesses. We didn't make as far as I'd like to see. We moved from very bad to bad. We made enormous progress.
Respectfully, Senator, would you like to respond directly to his claims?
The judge in question was part of an arrangement where there were a series of judges put forward by the Republicans and judges put forward by the Democrats. And part of the judges that were put forward in that package was Richard Taylor, who went on to serve with great distinction. And the fact is, that was only done in conjunction with that then Republican-controlled legislature.
Going along with a deal is hardly an act
seconds.
of political courage. Hardly a profiling courage, Senator.
Again,
15
we've
seconds.
said very clearly, I think Donald Trump was wrong without him disavowing white supremacists and militia groups. I wish you would just say, Donald Trump was wrong.
Donald Trump was wrong, Senator.
Thank
you
you
fumbled
both,
the ball
gentlemen.
badly, and I disavowed those groups. And yet you're still sticking with your record of having appointed a racist judge, and you won't back off on it because
Thank you
you
both,
think
gentlemen.
it was
We're
part
going to
of your
move on with
political
our
responsibility.
conversation. Regina?
Thank you, Anita. Senator Mark Warner, you support the Justice and Policing Act of 2020, which mandates local law enforcement agencies to report their use of force data. Why stop there? Would you mandate full transparency, including releasing the names of police officers under investigation and all body and dash cam video? You have 60 seconds.
I've supported body cams since 2016. My record back, as I've indicated as well, back to governor, in terms of making sure our state police were more attuned to racial issues, was, I think, appropriate and the right step. I think the Justice and Policing Act, which I was proud to join, who I hope will soon be the Vice President, Kamala Harris, she was the lead sponsor, strikes that right balance on prohibiting chokeholds, on getting rid of no-knock warrants, on dealing with qualified immunity, not allowing police officers to, if they've got a bad record, to simply move from one department to another. And I feel that it strikes the balance that is appropriate. And I hope and wish that we get a chance to vote on the floor. Instead, there was a proposal put forward by a very good gentleman, senator from South Carolina, that every civil rights organization in the country said did not go far enough. I think the Justice and Policing Act, not going to solve every problem, but it is the kind of comprehensive policing reform we need.
So a follow-up, releasing the names of the officers right away and the body camera and dash cam video, releasing that right away. Would you support an amendment to that order?
I would not support releasing that information before there is an appropriate due process for law enforcement officers involved.
Dr. Gade, the same question. You're familiar with the Justice and Policing Act. What changes, if any, would you make to the legislation? You have 1 minute.
Well, first off, the Tim Scott bill that was put forward that Senator Warner voted against, which would have made lynching a federal hate crime, was a no-brainer of a bill. It should have been passed. There are parts of the Justice and Policing Act which I absolutely support. And I support the idea of releasing body cams. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I support the idea of using federal funds to make sure that state and local governments and all federal agencies, of course, are using body cams because they protect the accused and they protect the purported victim of police violence. I do not support releasing the names, to answer your question directly, but I want to point out, though, that although Senator Warner is saying that he's for all of these reforms, the Police Benevolent Association has endorsed me. So has the Fraternal Order of Police of Virginia Beach has endorsed me. And as governor, he voted for $50 million of cuts to the police budget. So it's hard to be a law and order person when you're voting for cuts to state and local governments and to police around the Commonwealth.